Hi, how are you? I hope you are doing good today. My name is Vera and welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, I tell you stories while I do my makeup. So if you love stories and you love makeup, welcome, you are the right place. I've got you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because I've got lots and lots of stories for you. I have a love story for you today. Without further delay, let's get right into it. Abu is being forced to come home to his hometown by his wealthy father against his will. Abu had gone to the city to study and he wanted to stay in the city to continue his studies. But his father wanted Abu to come home to take over his business, whilst his mother wanted Abu to marry a woman from his town. She was getting old and she wanted grandchildren, but Abu was not ready to get married. When the women in the town heard Abu was coming to the town to get married, they all wanted to be his wife. Everywhere Abu went, women worshipped the ground he walked on. They laughed at everything he said, even if it was not funny. In fact, many of the women in the town broke up with their boyfriends just to get a chance to be Abu's wife. Despite all this, Abu was just not interested in any of them. Now, in the same town of Usabu lived a woman called Sally. She was the prettiest woman in the town. Despite her beauty, Sally was arrogant and proud. She felt she was better than all the women in the village, and all the women in the village paved way for her when they see her. Sally has been spoiled rotten by her parents and she was used to getting whatever she wanted. Her father was a business colleague of Abu's father, but he was nowhere near as rich as Abu's father was. Sally used to play with Abu when they were kids, but she had not seen Abu since he left for the city 10 years ago. When she heard Abu was coming to town to find a wife, she couldn't hide her joy. She had always had a crush on Abu, and she felt no one deserved to marry the town's richest bachelor other than her. She was prettier than all the women in the town and she was more educated. Sally told herself Abu was going to fall in love with her immediately he saw her. So whilst all the women threw themselves at Abu, Sally waited and bid her time. She was waiting to pounce at the right time. Everywhere Abu went, he was approached by women. Women were always at his house trying to win his hearts. The women were always around and he was tired. One day, Abu found a secret spot close to the stream where he can be alone to escape the women. Now, he was on his way to his secret spot one day when he saw a woman at the stream fetching water. Abu was about to return back because he was not in the mood of another woman gushing all over him when he realized the woman was struggling to place the bowl of water on her head. He wanted to leave her and go, but against his better judgment, he decided to go help the woman. Now, when he got to where the woman was, he realized that the woman was a very short and smallish woman with the biggest eyes he has ever seen. The woman turned to look at him and he was expecting the woman to gush all over him like the way the other women in the town were doing. But she just looked at him with indifference. Abu was shocked. This was the first time a woman had acted this way towards him since he came to the town. Abu looked at her and asked her if she needed assistance. She turned away from him and bluntly said, "No, I don't need your help." She tried lifting the water onto her head again and she couldn't. She was clearly suffering, so Abu tried to help her lift the water. She shouted at Abu to leave her alone. Abu was stunned. No woman has ever treated him this way before. He apologized to her and walked away from her. As he was going, he turned around and saw that she had finally succeeded in putting the bowl of water onto her head. Who is this woman? Abu asked himself. Throughout that day, he couldn't get the stubborn woman out of his mind. That weekend, Abu and his father were on their way out of the house when Abu saw the woman he had encountered at the stream sweeping their compound. Abu pointed at her and asked his father who she was. Abu's father was surprised by the question since this was the first time Abu had ever shown any interest in any of the women in the town. He told him her name was Fati. She was the daughter of a cripple who lived on the outskirts of the town. She cleaned other people's houses for money to look after her mother. For some reason, their encounter at the stream was still etched in Abu's head. He couldn't forget about it. He looked at Fati as he walked out of the compound with his father. Abu and his father has been invited to Sally's house by her father for dinner. Sally had planned everything out. This was her time to win the heart of Abu. She had planned out the night in detail. She was wearing an exquisite fitting dress that showed her curves. Her face was perfectly made. Any man who saw her was bound to fall in love with her immediately. Abu was no different, she told herself. She told herself Abu will see her and will be enchanted by her beauty, and he will have no other option than to fall in love with her. But for some reason, after Abu got there, No matter what she did, Abu was just not interested in her. She flirted and flirted with him, but it did not work. She didn't understand what was happening. Every man she knew wanted her. She wondered if she was too late and if another woman had already caught his eyes. She decided to investigate and find out who it was. Abu was hers and no one was going to take him away from her. Now, Fati was the daughter of a cripple. She and her mother have been outcast of the town because of that. Growing up, people shunned and avoided her as if she was dirty. Fati and her mother were treated like trash in the town. She hated everyone in the town and all she wanted was to make enough money to take her mother to the city. It was her dream to become a fashion designer. There was not enough money for her to go to school. So she hid behind the schools and listened to their lessons. She has been working non-stop to make money and she couldn't wait to leave the town that has always treated her so badly. Now, Sally started monitoring Abu's movements, trying to find the woman who had caught his eye. She asked their servants to watch the house and tell her about the woman who went in and out of the house. There was another woman called Jamie in the town who was very crazy about Abu and wanted to become his wife. She wanted to be Abu's wife badly. So she went to his house every day trying to win his affections. One day, Abu was on his way to his secret spot when he saw Fati at the stream once again. She was sitting on the banks of the stream with her head bowed as if she was writing something. Something about this woman baffled Abu, and before he knew it, he was walking towards her. He startled her when he said hi. Fati jumped up and dropped the book and the pencil she was using to sketch her designs. Abu said sorry and then he picked the book up for her. He saw beautiful dress designs inside the book. This woman was very talented, he thought to himself. He was about to compliment her drawings when she snatched the book away from him. She put the book in her cloth and using all her strength, she lifted a bowl of water and placed it onto her head. Without saying a word to Abu, she started to walk away. Abu held her hand and stopped her in her tracks. "Have I done something wrong to you?" he asked her. Without responding, she just pulled her hand away from him and walked away. There was something about this woman that disturbed Abu's senses. He just couldn't explain the way he was feeling. Now, the servants of Sally reported back to her that among all the women who went to Abu's house, a woman called Jamie was always at his house. They told her that sometimes she touches Abu's arms when she spoke to him. This is the woman taking Abu's attention from me, Sally thought. As compared to that woman, she felt she was 10 times more beautiful. She wondered why Abu would choose such a woman over her. Anyway, she didn't care. She was going to teach that woman a lesson to never cross her again. That night, Sally went to her father's chemical workshop and mixed some chemicals into a bottle. Then she went to Jamie's house. Immediately she saw Jamie, she poured the chemicals onto her face. Sally shouted on her and warned her to leave Abu alone or worse things will happen to her. She warned her not to tell anyone what had just occurred between them or else her family would pay. Without saying another word, she walked away, leaving Jamie screaming in pain. Abu couldn't stop thinking about Fati. He didn't understand why Fati didn't like him and he decided to get to the bottom of it. He decided to wait at the stream every day till Fati comes to fetch water to ask her why she didn't like him. Fati didn't come to the stream the first few days and Abu wondered why. For some reason, he really wanted to see her. Finally, on the 4th day, he saw her coming towards the stream with a big water bowl. He confronted her once again and asked her why she didn't like him. She didn't say anything at first and ignored him. In fact, she didn't even look at him. She just started fetching her water from the stream into her bowl. He kept insisting, so she turned towards him and told him bluntly that she didn't like rich people. She told him rich people were arrogant and trouble and she didn't want to have anything to do with that. She placed the bowl on her head and walked away without saying another word. But Abu was still not satisfied. For some reason, he wanted to prove to Fati that he was different. So he started going to the stream every day waiting for her to show up. When she did, he tried to talk to her and get to know her. And even though Fati was stubborn, gradually, she began to let her guard down little by little. Fati knew Abu was bad news. He was not on her level and she felt the only thing he would ever bring her was trouble. But she couldn't stop thinking about him. He was always at the stream waiting for her and she didn't understand why. She was not the prettiest girl in the village. In fact, her family was the poorest. What did he want with her? She asked herself. She had heard stories of women throwing themselves at his feet. So why was he with her when he could be with any woman he wanted? Why was he wasting his time with her? Fati wondered. Fati looked forward to seeing Abu every time she went to the stream to fetch water. Gradually, she told him about her dreams to become a fashion designer. And he also told her about his dreams of furthering his studies and following his own path instead of joining his father's business. Something was happening between them and they were both scared to admit it. They were falling in love. Now, Jamie didn't tell anyone about Sally's assault. She knew Sally's father was powerful and she didn't want to get her family into trouble. Part of her face was burned and one of her eyes has been blinded by the chemicals. Her parents had asked her several times how it had happened, but she had kept her mouth shut. She hid in her room, unable to show her face in public. Abu's mother was getting impatient with her son. He was her only child and she wanted to see him married. She wanted grandchildren. Since Abu came back to the town, he had not shown interest in any of the women in the town. She didn't even care about who he married. All she wanted was for him to settle down and give her a grandchild. She spoke to her husband that night and they both decided to give Abu an ultimatum. He had one man to present a woman to them, or else they were going to look for a woman for him. When Abu heard about the ultimatum, he knew it was his mother's doing. He loved her, but that woman would just not stop till she had gotten her grandchildren. When Abu thought of getting married, only one woman came to mind. When the whole town heard about the ultimatum, they couldn't wait to see who Abu was going to choose. His parents had made it clear that they didn't care about the status of the woman he was going to marry. They just wanted him to settle down, and when the women in the town heard this, they started working overtime to get his attention. Women threw themselves at his feet daily, wanting to be the woman he would choose. When Sally heard about the ultimatum, she chuckled to herself. She had taken Jamie out of the way, and among all the women in the village, she was the prettiest. She knew without a doubt that Abu was going to choose her, so she started preparing herself for his marriage proposal. She just couldn't wait to see the faces of all the women in the town when Abu chooses her to be his bride. Abu knew it was time for him to express his love to Fati. Because of the ultimatum, women were throwing themselves at him left and right, and he didn't even have time for himself. One day, he pretended to be sick, and he asked the servants to tell all the women who had come to see him to go home since he was not feeling well. Immediately the coast was clear, he headed to the stream. And at this point, he had not seen Fati in almost a week. He met Fati as she was about to leave the stream. She looked very sad and angry at the same time. She avoided his eyes as she tried to walk away from him. Abu stopped there and asked her if she was okay. Fati looked at him in the eye and told him she didn't want to be in the way of him choosing a bride. What did he want with her? She was a nobody. She asked him to go back to where he belonged as tears streamed down her face. Abu lifted her chin and kissed her. The only place I want to be is with you, Abu told her. I love you completely, even the parts of you want to change. You take my breath away. I hope you know how special you are to me, Abu told Fati. Fati put his arms around his shoulders and kissed him back. But then all of a sudden, she pushed him away. She knew the two of them could never be together. They were just too different. She held Abu's face and told him she wanted the best for him. She told him he deserved to be with someone better than her. The two of them would just not work. She said goodbye to him, kissed him on his cheeks and walked away. Abu tried to follow her, but she stopped him. They were not made for each other. It was true his mother said they didn't care about the status of woman he married. But after what she had gone through in the town, she knew she was the exception. They would never accept her into their family. The day of the ultimatum finally came, and it was time for Abu to choose the woman he wanted to marry. Every young woman in the town was there, dressed in their finest clothes, hoping to be chosen by Abu. In front of all of them was Sally, looking as beautiful as ever, waiting for Abu to choose her as his bride. Everybody there grew quiet as Abu started to talk. Who was he going to choose? They all wondered. Who was going to be the lucky woman? Abu looked around the crowd, searching for the face he wanted to see more than anything in the world. After their encounter at the stream, Fati had avoided him completely. He had tried several times to get in touch with her, but to no avail. Out of options, he had told his mother about his feelings. He told her he was in love with Fati, the cripple's daughter. His mother was shocked at first and she thought he was joking. She had always liked Fati. She was very respectful, kind and hardworking. Fati had been taking care of her mom alone since she was a child. She had been through a lot and the town should have helped her more. She sighed, finally seeing how much the town had failed that little girl. It was time to do the right thing. Fati deserved to be happy. After a conversation with her son, She called Fati to come and clean their house the day of the ultimatum. But Fati gave an excuse and said she was sick. Abu's mother knew she was trying to avoid their house because she knew that was the day Abu was choosing his bride. When she told Fati she would double her money, she hesitated, but she agreed to come clean the house because she needed the money. Abu looked around the crowd, hoping his mother's plan had worked and Fati was there. He was about to give up hope when he saw her at the back of the crowd sweeping. He inhaled deeply and cleared his throat. He told everyone there he had finally chosen the woman he wanted to marry. Everyone there stared at him intensely. This woman stole my heart in a blink of an eye. I usually don't get attached, but that all changed the moment I met her. She's always on my mind, and no matter how hard I try, I just can't stop thinking about her. Sally stood up all of a sudden and started to walk towards Abu, ready to say yes to his proposal when she stopped dead in her tracks. Hold on. Fati, I will never give up on us, she heard Abu say. I need you and I want you, Abu shouted. He walked past Sally and went straight to Fati, who was standing there stunned and speechless. He held Fati's hands and kissed her. Everyone there was shocked for a moment, and then they all began to cheer for them. Fati didn't care about what anyone thought anymore. She put her arms around Abu and kissed him back. At that very moment, Jami and her father and the town police entered into the premises. Jami had finally decided to tell her father. Sally was still in shock as she was put into handcuffs. What had just happened? Why had Abu chosen the cripple's daughter of all people over her? Was she dreaming? People were staring at her, pointing and laughing at her. She broke into tears immediately as she was being dragged away by the police, and she shouted for her father to come and save her. Abu married Fati, and Fati finally went to the fashion school to pursue her dreams. Abu was also able to convince his father to allow him to walk his own path. Sally was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment for assaulting Jami. The love between Fati and Abu grew stronger and stronger every day, and they lived happily ever after. No matter who you are or where you come from, you deserve to be loved. There is someone out there for you who is going to love you completely for who you are. Don't ever lose faith in love. One day, someone will love you the way you deserve to be loved, and you won't have to fight for it. So be patient and learn to wait. Do not settle. There will come a day when someone will love every part of you. What do we think about the makeup? Are we feeling it? I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more stories and makeup. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, I'm done. Bye.